Welcome to the Disenfranchised Podcast, where the company we keep, bitches. I'm your host, Stephen Foxworthy, kind of like spell check, but with a nice rack. And joining me, as always, is the man whose sarcasm makes him sound like a little bitch. It's Tucker. Hey, Tucker.
Hello, Stephen. How's it going?
It's going, man. How are you?
Doing okay.
Good.
Yeah, doing all right.
Good. I should mention... Oh, go ahead. No, please.
I was going to say, I opened the window in my room today.
Yeah?
And now it smells like spring in my room.
Oh, that's a good smell. I like that for you.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
We should mention that our other co-host, Brett Wright, is currently doing a campus visit to Rossman University in hopes of joining the Tri-Pies. So we do wish him a speedy return. Not sure why he's going back to school at the ripe old age of 39, but, you know, hey, everybody's got to start sometime. But joining us tonight, you might remember her from our Black Christmas 06 episode. So honestly, consider this episode a sequel to that one. She is a senior contributor to Ghouls Magazine, a regular on the Pod and the Pendulum podcast, but most importantly for our conversation tonight, she is the author of the upcoming book, Millennial Nasties, analyzing a decade of brutal horror film violence. Please welcome back to the show, Ariel Powers-Schaub. Ari, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. Although I'm feeling a little bit like you might have called me a bitch at the beginning of this, just sort of by proxy. So now my hackles are up.
No.
I'm going to be really mean for the whole time.
I mean, it's honestly, we have it coming. I'll just say it straight away.
Nah, I can't sustain that.
What do you mean we? I'm on her team. Let's gang up against Steven.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be one of those episodes. Oh, okay. Again,
oh
yeah.
I have it coming. It's fine.
There you go.
So, Ari, you were on just a couple months ago, back in December, when we talked about Black Christmas 06. One of my favorite episodes that we've done. Honestly, those Black Christmas episodes were really good.
Those were great listens too, by the way, you guys.
Oh,
I meant to tell you. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Is that the one? That's the one where my power went out, right? So I missed like half the episode.
No, that was Christine.
One? Okay, I would say we had 3 guests for 3 Black Christmases, and
no, we had 2 guests for 3 Black Christmases.
I know that my power went out at one point.
Yeah, that was Christine.
That was pretty crazy.
With Rachel. Yeah.
Well, I'll edit that part out. We are friends.
So, Ari, we had you on not too long ago, and we said at the end of the episode, come back anytime, and you basically said bet.
Yeah.
And
because I talk like a cool Gen Z kid.
Exactly. Exactly. So do I, in point
no
of fact.
cap, etc.
etc. etc. I don't either. It's fine.
Something Riz?
Yeah, that sounds correct.
Are they still saying
etc.?
Are they still saying goated with the sauce, or are we done with that now?
I don't even know that one, Steven. You've gone where I cannot follow.
That's too much for us, man. We ain't in that deep.
Sorry.
Listen, I still call things hella sick. I really haven't updated since the 2000s.
I'm still on Mad Rad.
I do still throw around hella more than any human being probably should. So,
nah, lean into it.
All right. Okay. Then.
Anyway, I keep interrupting you with nonsense.
No, you're
riffs.
Look, that's what we do on this show.
It's the place to do it.
Exactly. If you're gonna do it here. But no, you have a book coming out in September. Yes. Millennial Nasties, analyzing a decade of brutal horror film violence. And you're like, you need to have me on. And we said, yes, absolutely. Is March too soon? And you're like, nah, March is perfect. I was like, sweet. So here it is, March. And your book comes out in a half a year.
Yes.
Which means we're going to have you on again when it comes back out. I have an episode in mind for that one. So
twist my arm.
Oh, if I have to.
No, it's always a good time. Always. The one other time I did it, but so far this one's good too. So
we're having a good time. We're 4.5 minutes in, and this is going great.
We're good. We honestly, we should just end it here while we've peaked. This has been Disenfranchised. See you guys next week.
Bye.
Ari will be joining soon as 4th co-host.
Reprise the theme song and roll the credits.
As if she doesn't have enough going on already. No, but we absolutely we got some advanced readers of it. We both have really dug it. It's
Thank you.
it's such a fantastic piece of work, and it's it's such an easy read. This is an era of film that you clearly have such a passion for.
Yes.
And so before we dig into the movie that we are discussing tonight, and I probably should mention what that is before we get too much further.
Can I
Um,
say what it is?
if sure, Tucker, what are we covering tonight?
Okay, we're covering 2009, 2009, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2009's Sorority Row, aka I Know What You Did Last Semester.
There
Hey,
it is.
very good.
Yay!
Very good.
2009's Sorority Row, directed by Stuart Hendler, written by Josh Stolberg and Pete Goldfinger, based on the film The House on Sorority Row by Mark Rosman, and starring Brianna Evigan. I'm probably mispronouncing her name, sorry. Leah Pipes, Rumor Willis, Jamie Chung, Margot Harshman, Julian Morris, Audrina Patridge, Carolyn Damore, and the late, great Carrie Fisher. What a cast. What a picture. And Ari, you actually requested to come on for this episode, and I was like, I will move heaven and earth to make that happen. And here it is. Heaven, earth moved. Here we are. It's happening. What? So first of all, I guess my initial question is Millennial Nasties. What that?
Yes.
Let's start there, because I want to kind of dig into the central premise of the book and then start applying those things to this movie. So Millennial Nasties, the title of your book. What's a millennial nasty?
A millennial nasty is, I decided I wanted to rename the subgenre of 2000s horror that has been sort of dismissed and ignored, and in some cases quite maligned. A lot of it often called torture porn, which is not a phrase people like to say that they're super into. But also films that weren't lumped into torture porn, but kind of didn't have a home. You know, the slasher remakes of the time were especially nasty. So yeah, they're slashers, but it was usually like, oh, I'm a slasher fan. Oh, but not those. Or like, oh, you know, I really like the glossy slashers of the 90s and Final Destination, but not Wrong Turn. And so Final Destination is also quite nasty, but you never heard it called torture porn. So I just felt like there was this time period with all these movies that did have overlapping things in common that we weren't quite talking about correctly or enough. And I happen to love this. I mean, it's no secret. I love this style of movie. And I wanted to take a critical but also appreciative and loving look at these films. And so that's what I did.
Right on. What is it about these films that draws you the way that they do? What is it about these films that attracts you to them?
Yeah. You know, in some ways that's almost like a why is your favorite color question? Like,
okay. Yeah.
It just is. But some things that I really like about these movies, I do enjoy the on-screen gore and buckets of blood that we get. And I enjoy how hard they go, a lot of them, and how they're not afraid to like go to really dark, bleak places or explore really dark, bleak things. But they do it in a more upbeat manner where there's constant movement throughout the film and things are moving really fast. So I just, in a lot of ways, find that to be a really entertaining genre to watch. And then as I was consuming these movies over and over again, I was like, oh, they actually do have a lot to say as well. And every art is always responding to the world around it. And that includes film and horror films, of course. And the movies of this time are responding to the movies that came before and the things going on in the world. And I really just wanted to sort of put that all into historical context.
Right on. I mean, a lot of people think that these movies tend to come out of a response to kind of 9/11. Would you agree with that sentiment? What else is going on there that kind of brings these disparate elements to create this very specific kind of subgenre?
9/11's definitely a part of it. I don't think it's all of it. And there have been some good books written about like horror films after 9/11 and the direct response there. So I can't remember any of them off the top of my head, of course, but if you Google
Right.
it, I'm sure you'll find them. There's a lot else going on in the world at the time, too, that I think impacted these movies. At this time, we had New French Extremity going on,
Mm,
and we had really violent movies coming out of Japan as well, sometimes called Japanese Gore Wave or like under the Tartan Asian Extreme label. And so every cultural movement was in context of the other ones that they are responding to. In the late 2000s, we also had a lot of economic insecurity and a big time recession. And
right.
that impacts the movies at the end of this decade. You can start to feel a lot of insecurity. And because in my book, I specifically looked at the English language films of this time from North America and Australia. A lot of it is, I think, rooted in fear of the other that could be drawn to 9/11, perhaps. And I think a lot of it is like there's a lot of like pro military, pro gun, very pro Christianity in these movies too. And I think some of that is also in response to the feeling we lost from the 90s as a country, as a culture. The 90s felt like, yay, we did it. We won the world. We solved everything. Economic prosperity. We solved bigotry. We did it, guys. Let's all just have a house party till the end of time. And obviously, that all wasn't true.
Right.
And 9/11 is kind of the moment you can point to that shakes it all apart. But it wasn't the only thing that did that. So I think as we're dealing in the 2000s with the idea that this beautiful dream of the 90s is gone, um, it also led to a lot of fear.
Okay. I remember distinctly in high school, and I was in high school in the late '90s. One of my teachers saying, like, this is what it feels like to be a part of the greatest nation in the world, to literally be on top of the world.
Yeah.
And a chill ran down my spine when he said that.
Mhm.
And then, like, just a few years later, I'm turning on the TV and seeing a couple of like smoking buildings, and it's just like,
Right.
well, so much for that.
Well, it kind of felt like there in the 90s that we had come so far and we were working towards like a really great society, and we were pretty much there and we were almost there. And then 9/11 happened and everything just started moving backwards from that point.
Mhm.
I'm not going to say we had it all solved in the 90s, but our
Right.
trajectory was on track. That's, I think, what everybody was excited about. It's like, look, people are being less racist. Like,
At
the
least outwardly
economy's pretty
racist, but yeah.
rad. Well, and that's the thing. I was thinking about this the other day. I think you had smaller communities then. So when you have smaller communities like that, like now it's a global community. The internet exists, so everybody's one big community. Back then you had these small communities, and most of those people were decent people. So the people who were not decent people were kind of kept in line by the decent people. They didn't want to, didn't want anyone to think ill of them, so they
Mhm.
pretended not to be racist or whatever. And that's good enough for me, man. If you got hate in your heart, just keep it in there. Don't spread it. But then I don't know.
Yeah, I think two other things that were happening around this time that sort of added to the soup that the Millennial Nasties came out of. One is the internet becoming a commodity in lots of homes, it becoming much more accessible. So as global horror is happening, we're all seeing it, right? And the three of us, we're old enough to remember like rotten.com and like just casually watching videos of beheadings, really horrible stuff when the internet was in its like Wild West era.
Oh yeah.
And at the same time, social media is really starting to become a thing. Like MySpace is there, but it's kind of different. Facebook kind of blew everything up, and it was suddenly like you could see through a window to worlds you didn't even know about.
Mm-hmm.
And you could yell about your opinions and get very, very rewarded for it.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, while all that is going on our screens at home, the other thing that's happening is a lot of straight to DVD movies happening. This streaming wasn't really a hot household thing yet, but DVDs were extremely accessible and DVD players were in more homes. And so a lot of these millennial nasty movies could get released straight to DVD with all types of extra deleted scenes and extended violence. And so we're seeing violence on the news, and then we're seeing violence like we've never seen before in our entertainment. And I think all of this stuff just swirls together to give us what we got out of that time.
Yeah. I mean, because if you're releasing direct to DVD, you don't really have to mess with the MPAA. You can
Right.
put whatever you want on there, and it can be as shocking as you need it to be. Like, I remember they would release films in theaters at PG-13 or R, and then release, the R-rated or unrated cut, which was apparently like so egregious on DVD, when really it was just like a little more nudity and a couple more swear words. Like,
well,
was
that's
really
the
all
thing
they
too.
added.
The things you could see, I mean, we're talking about these movies got theatrical runs. A lot of them did, and did pretty well. And so people were hungry for this. They were paying, movie theater prices in a time of economic insecurity and global crisis. They were like, yes, please. Here's my movie ticket money. I would like to see the gore on the screen. And like me included. So there were lots of things going on that made us really hungry for this kind of entertainment at the time. And I don't think this era could have existed in another era, if you know what I mean. Like, these movies wouldn't have worked so well if they all didn't happen at this time, which is probably true for a lot of like movements in art. But I think that's the case here for sure.
Right on.
You know what I'm old enough to remember? I'm old enough to remember books like yours, because when I first started reading your book, all I could think about was young little Tukey, the 15, 16-year-old horror fan, going to the library and getting every book about horror movies I can. And all those movies were basically the same as yours. It was just like listing all these films and talking about them in the context of the focus of the book. And so something I really appreciated about your book was that it kind of took me back to that. Because we couldn't watch YouTube videos on this stuff back then. You had to take your ass to the library.
Absolutely.
And get a damn book. And your book reminds me of those books. And I really enjoyed what I read of it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Honestly, that just like made my whole entire week, you saying that, because I also remember doing that. And like, I have books that really inspired me, that are really important to me, that now I can purchase them and I don't have to. I mean, I still do go to the library. Support your local libraries, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
But like, as a little kid, you go and you're like, ooh, and it almost feels like you're getting away with something. Especially in my family, we were allowed to read whatever we wanted, but my parents were a little bit more strict about what we watched. So I definitely read as much as I could about horror movies. And so to hear you say that my book made you think of that, just like, oh my God, thank you. I feel like I'm going to be a broken record just saying thank you, thank you. But truly.
I mean,
No,
it's a phenomenal read. It's so accessible. And even for someone like myself, who is admittedly on record not a fan of these kinds of films, I find your passion for them just incredibly contagious. And I watched legitimately, you're a part of the reason why I watched the Saw films last year. Like, you and the coverage that you and Mike and the rest of the crew were doing on the Pod and the Pendulum made me go, have I been missing out on something with these? And so I watched the whole thing. And I mean, are they for me? Not really. But was I rewarded by the experience? Absolutely. Absolutely I was. And I feel like, and I don't know if you'll take this as a compliment or not, but I'm going to say this. I feel like you're an evangelist for this kind of film.
Oh, I definitely am.
Okay. All right.
If I can get like you saying, I watch the Saw movies because of you, I'm like, my duty here is done. And I can like float away into the sky. Like that Simpsons episode I'm thinking of. But like truly, if my writing can make people think, you don't have to like these movies. Not everything is for everyone. Like, that's cool. But if someone reads some of my book and goes, oh, I didn't realize these movies had something to say. Like, that's kind of cool. I guess they do. Like, that, my work here is done. Like, if my legacy is getting people, even one person, to think differently about these movies, like, incredible.
And I think that tends to be the misconception about this era of filmmaking, is that these movies are just like an excuse to be as envelope pushing as possible with absolutely no redeeming value whatsoever.
Right.
And what you and your book are essentially arguing is, no, that's not the case.
There's a lot there. And I don't, I also talk about the problems in the movies. I'm not just like, yay, these are all perfect, but I'm like, this one did this. That's not great. It did it for this reason. Let's talk about that. Because I love them, but they're not above reproach.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think any piece of art is necessarily above reproach. And I think to really, truly appreciate,
the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but that's neither here nor there.
Touche. But I mean, I think being able to engage with something on a critical level means to potentially look at the flaws in something, but understanding them, still being able to enjoy the thing. Like, I love a lot of movies that are not perfect. I think there are some movies I think are perfect that I know deep in my heart are not, but they're perfect for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mystery Men is a big one of those for me. Like, that is a ridiculous, silly, not great movie, but is it absolutely perfect?
Shut up. It's wonderful.
Yes, it is absolutely perfect film.
It deserved every second of its 4K restoration.
I own that 4K restoration. I agree.
Girl,
with
me
you.
too.
Girl,
didn't I get that for you?
You
Did I
did.
straight up buy that for you,
You
Stephen?
straight up bought that for me. Yes, you did.
This
Girl,
is a really beautiful moment.
A good purchase. It was a worthy purchase.
It was.
Money well spent.
I agree. But we're not here to talk about Mystery Men. We're here.
Oh, that's too bad.
To look, we did that episode already. People can go back and listen to it.
Part 2.
Look, if Ari wants to talk Mystery Men, we can talk Mystery Men.
No,
but
fuck off.
Ari wanted to talk Sorority Row. So we are going to talk Sorority Row. Ari,
super.
Why Sorority Row?
Because it's so much fun. Come the fuck on. This movie is fun. No, truly, when I was like, oh, I want to go on Disenfranchised, will they invite me on if I need to suggest a movie? Like, I was like, okay, what's a movie I can suggest that doesn't have a sequel, right? Because that's the tough thing, is I'm like, oh, where are my movies that don't have sequels? And I was like, Dead Silence. And you guys were like, no, we did that. And I was like, dang it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, Sorority Row was supposed to get a sequel and it didn't. So honestly, one of the reasons I suggested it is so that I could come talk with you guys about it, because it fits your theme. I mean, but look, also I just think this movie's really
I've got
fun.
an episode for your third appearance too. So
Excellent.
I've got a movie already picked out for you. So you don't even have to worry about that. I tentatively have a spot for it on the schedule too. So we can talk about that after we're done recording. But
lock it in. Stone cold lock of the century.
Hell yeah.
Sorority Row, one, it's really fun. Two, it ends in a way where it could get a sequel, but it hasn't. Although as soon as we scheduled this episode, did you see the news?
Oh, I did not. No. Oh no.
It was like, as soon as we locked in, like, yeah, we're going to do this episode in March sometime, Josh Stolberg announced on Twitter that he's writing a sequel.
Nice.
But I was like, well, I can't tell the guys. I don't want them to cancel my episode.
Oh, no, that just means you get to be on again when it comes out.
Because here's the promise that we made to our audience very early in this podcast, is that if any movie we cover on this podcast ever does get a sequel, we have to cover it, which we are actually going to be making good on for the first time in September when Beetlejuice comes out.
Nice.
Beetlejuice.
Oh, I think I said it too many times.
Guys, come on. Sidebar. I'm like super afraid of summoning things by accident. Like, I don't mess around with saying names. You will never find a Ouija board themed anything in my home. I'm like too afraid.
No, the religious upbringing in me forbids me from ever going near a fucking Ouija board. So I
can't do it.
Get it. Yeah, can't do that. And look, I see that article here. Did not see it at the time, but again, if this does come to pass, you
and
will
that's
be back
a big
on.
if. It's a big if right now.
Big if.
They are constantly announcing movies that never get made. And at this point,
Yes.
I'm the person that says, look, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yep.
When I'm sitting in a theater watching it, I will believe that they've made it. Until
Like-
then, I don't believe anything.
Josh Stolberg seems like the nicest guy. He's really wonderful on social media. He interacts with people. He seems very kind and super passionate. Like, he seems like a fan, and I love that. He admitted when he did this tweet, he was like, so I'm writing it. Nobody's committed to anything. None of the actresses have said they're coming back.
Right.
Like, he's very upfront about the fact of just like, who knows, guys? But I was like, I believe we can wish it into existence.
I mean, look, stranger things have absolutely happened.
But do you think, like, I'm wondering because, like, I don't remember this film doing very well. I don't think really anybody has it developed like a cult following. Yeah, but
it has
spoilers
developed
doesn't
quite
have
a
a
cult
following. Nice. I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty rad.
There are dozens of us.
Well,
Dozens.
that's enough. That's enough, honestly.
But yeah, so I had absolutely no familiarity with either of this film or the original. I actually watched both of them yesterday in preparation for this episode. What is your familiarity with, I guess, for lack of a better term, the Sorority Row franchise or the Sorority Row films, both the original House on Sorority Row and this remake?
I saw the remake maybe a couple years after it came out. I didn't see it in theaters, and I've watched it a bunch of times just because I think it's really fun. But I never saw the original until a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Not for any particular reason. I just never sought it out. And then I think it was on Shudder or Screambox or one of those. And I was like, okay, it's time I finally do this. Plus, I had heard how weird it is. And it is quite weird.
I was not prepared for how weird that movie was going to be.
It's very weird. It's cool. It's fun. There's some really good one-liners. You know, the delivery of how do we know that she is alive lives in my mind every day. But so mainly my history is just with this 2009 remake.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. Tucker, what about yourself?
I had never seen any of them before yesterday. I mean, I was, of course, familiar with them existing, but it just never really seemed like it was worth my time, honestly. Just seemed like, it's one of those that gets thrown around with, like, all the slashers that came out in the late 70s and early 80s. And I just never heard anybody say anything, like, good enough about it to make me want to see either of them, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I knew at least the original had kind of a cult following. I didn't know about the cult following on this one. This one
it's
kind of
pretty recent.
Okay. I was going to say, because this one has always kind of just felt like a weird oddity of the time. I mean, the early aughts, starting in 2003, like the aughts are where we get a lot of horror remakes. I think I've got a letterbox list of just American horror remakes.
Well, you got Dark Castle, and then Platinum Dunes comes in, and that's an entire decade right there, just with those two companies splitting it up.
Right, and then they still like keep getting made. Honestly, like we had the Child's Play remake in 2019. Like they're still happening.
We've got David Gordon Green ruining beloved franchises left and right,
just all over the place. I mean, in fairness, he's not really remaking them so much as doing his thing, but
yes,
his thing is not universally beloved. I will say that
he burned me with the Halloween movies, man. I didn't even see that Exorcist one. Like,
I didn't see the Exorcist one either.
Well,
Zero faith in it.
Apparently, they canceled all the sequels to it, so we could probably cover it.
Great, perfect. I love that. What's he gonna fuck up next?
Right?
Give him time. Let him pick the right project.
Oh, I don't want to be so mean, but I just feel so burned.
I know.
By that last
Same.
Halloween film.
Yeah, me too, man.
So
me too.
I stood up for him.
I didn't even see
liked
the last
Halloween
one.
Stood up for Halloween Kills.
I liked Halloween Kills.
Me too, and I told people, like, "Oh, it's dumb." I'm like, "Yeah, but that's what's great about it."
It was super violent. I loved to see a super violent film in 2021. I was like, we haven't gotten violence like this in forever.
But maybe evil should have died tonight.
You know,
I'm just
hard to say.
And apparently, according to that movie, according to that movie, Evil's name is Judy Greer because she's the only one dying that night.
Dude,
And
spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers.
spoilers for a 3-year-old movie that has been talked about on the internet to
That's
death.
true. That's true. No, I think one of the reasons there's a couple reasons I think the 2009 Sorority Row has gained the cult following that it has. One is Josh Stolberg's involvement in the Saw franchise, and though the Saw franchise getting a breath of new life, and he's involved in that. A lot of people were like, "Oh, this is the Sorority Row guy. I love Sorority Row," and even Josh Stolberg was kind of like, "Where have you guys been all this time saying you love Sorority Row? Like, please let's say it louder and more frequently." And so all the fans started to come out of the woodwork for him. And two, I think there's a real hunger for these movies right now, which is why I was able to write Millennial Nasties now and get it picked up by a publisher now. We are far enough away from this time period for people to start looking back on it, both nostalgically and in an understanding way of oh, this is what was going on at the time. So I think we're going to see honestly, a lot of movies in my book and movies that are adjacent to that getting a lot of attention pretty soon. Yeah, just because there's a hunger for it right now that I saw when I was pitching this book.
See what you did there.
Oh, I sure did. I didn't even mean to. Oh my God.
I could have sworn you did because you really punched the word Saw too.
I didn't. I didn't even. I was just, yeah. Anyway.
Oh, it's just one of those perfect moments that life just hands you on a platter sometimes.
6 degrees of Sawperation.
Which was just an insane, awesome, fun way to end Millennial Nasties, if I may say so.
Thank you.
And again, it demonstrates the dedication, but also the pure love that you have for the Saw movies in particular, but also for all these films that you're able to kind of pull these strings. And I mean, there's a part of me that sees you like the Charlie Kelly meme from It's Always Sunny, like with your board and your strings everywhere, just kind of wide-eyed.
And meme, yeah.
Truly, this wall previously was my chart where I was charting the movies, and I have it folded up over there outside of it, it's over there. It'll never see the light of day because my handwriting's terrible.
No, Ari, what I need to happen, I need a tweet or a Insta of that when the book comes out. I need to see the process.
I was going to ask if you had a photo of your Pepe Silva wall.
I do have a photo because I sent it to my mom, and I was like, check this out. But very truly, I was late nights on IMDb. I was scrolling, I was looking through microfiche, just there has to be a connection. We have to find the connection.
Oh, that sounds delightful, though. That sounds like so much fun.
It was pretty fun. Pretty fun.
That sounds like the kind of shit I do.
Yeah.
just for fun. Not because I'm researching anything or have any ulterior motive. I'm just like, gee, I wonder what this guy did. Da, 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 da.
Yeah. And I mean, I had done that a lot. And so I was like, I kind of vaguely know these movies that have a lot of connections, but I needed to connect all of them back to the Saw franchise in 6 moves or less. And there were a couple of times where I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do it, but damn it, we did it. Anyway,
again, that's just
mission accomplished.
And I mean, this one is a fairly short walk with Josh Stolberg getting involved in the Saw films later on. So
yes.
I was going to ask you this question later, but it's kind of come up organically. In what ways do we see the influence of the Millennial Nasties now? And what do you think the continuing legacy of these films is going to be?
I love this question. Because I just get to play Nostradamus and there's no consequences.
No, your word is bond, and we're going to hold you to it.
Well, cool. Then I'm going to predict the thing I want and hopefully get it. So, as we know, in the 2010s, we took a hard swing away from Millennial Nasties, and we did trauma horror for a while. And, excellent stuff, right? Really, I mean, we got Jordan Peele, Karen Kusama, Robert Eggers, Ari Aster, obviously.
Yeah, just some truly, truly great films come out of that.
Bangers. but we did a lot of that, and that's a little bit exhausting, and we were sad a lot. Mike Flanagan, I love him, but we're
Oh yeah.
sad a lot.
Oh, so sad.
And now I think we're turning away from that. I think people need a break from that. I think we're going to start having more fun again. The movies that have come out, the horror movies that have come out in the last couple of years have been a little bit more fun.
Mithrigan, Malignant.
Yes. Yes. Evil Dead Rise, Terrifier 2, Freaky, Totally Killer. What is this motion you're doing?
My mic was off and I
Oh.
had said something and I'm like,
Oh.
why is no one acknowledging
I'm
me? And then I
sorry.
riggedy realized that my mic wasn't on.
Yeah.
So
You're just
Got
sitting
a
there like
chickadee cat.
animatedly talking.
I
And
don't
yeah.
I don't
Well, and
yeah.
I'm just like la 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 la.
No, you're good. Look, if he
Um,
wanted to be heard, he knows what he has to do to be heard. It's fine.
I forgot the button. I don't remember what I said though, so whatever.
it was probably gold.
It was probably
Um,
really good, yeah.
Yeah, now we'll never know.
Never.
So I think not only are we about to do an Malignant. Okay, first of all, here's my theory: is that James Wan tells us every 10 years what we're gonna do for the next 10 years, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, because we did Saw, then we did The Conjuring, and now we're gonna do Malignant.
Yep.
I just really think it's true. So, I think we're going to have more fun for a while, and I also think audiences are ready for more violence and more gore again. So, to come back to your question, like, what is the influence now? I think we had to turn hard away from it for a while. The way we turned hard away from the glossy slashers of the 90s to do the Millennial Nasties, we had to take a swing in the other direction. And now I think we're ready to kind of swing back to the middle. I think we're not in a place where we're going to ever I don't think we'll ever have a Millennial Nasties era ever again because of that soup I was talking about where it all came together. We're not there,
Sure.
and that's okay.
Right.
And good in a lot of ways. But I do think audiences are ready to be challenged in different ways by their horror movies again, and not just be challenged psychologically and emotionally, but be challenged visually and to push the boundaries of what's okay to show on screen. There's so much quote unquote discourse lately about what's okay to show on screen. And
Right.
I think the filmmakers are going to address that by showing a lot of stuff on screen again. And so I personally am very excited for this.
Right on. No, I mean, I feel like a lot of these eras eventually kind of start to become, in their own very weird way, start to become very oppressive.
Yes,
And you almost
consume
need the
themselves.
hard pivot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, Tucker, go ahead.
I was just thinking about how like practical effects is kind of having a renaissance now,
Yes.
and how that applies to what you were saying about how the tides could turn to some of those millennial nasties kind of having a comeback.
Absolutely.
I
I
just thought
mean,
that would be really cool because
there's
that's my issue with a lot of those early 2000s and mid 2000s movies is like their reliance on CG gore.
Mm-hmm.
So like to see it come back with a focus on practical effects, I think I'd be into that.
absolutely. I think we're all ready for that. And it's all about the people who are filmmakers at the time are taking their influences from whenever before. And so we always have to turn to a new generation of filmmakers who are pulling their influences from somewhere else. And we're back to filmmakers who are pulling their influences from practical effects. And I think about, so I love Terrifier 2 and I won't apologize, but there's a particularly horrible, nasty scene in that movie that is all practical effects. And I won't say what it is for anybody who hasn't seen it, but I could hardly believe it when they told me that. I was just like, you mean to tell me that's a human body? Truly, that's a live human body. Yeah, so I love it.
Oh my.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of makes me want to watch Terrifier 2. I'm not going to lie.
Why don't you save it for later this year when we cover it for the Pod and the Pendulum, and then we can talk about it.
Sounds good. I will tuck that one away.
Okay.
Sounds very good. I think one of the things that surprised me about Sorority Row is the fact that, like a lot of films that tend to go harder as the decade wears on, this one doesn't get, I mean, plenty of gore, don't get me wrong, but it's not I would say this is not half as gory as Black Christmas '06.
Yep.
Like it feels a lot more subdued in a way that, as someone who is not particularly a huge fan of those gore elements, really appreciated. Because it allowed me to focus on the story and the characters and the other elements that I personally am kind of more drawn to. And it's something I really appreciated about this movie.
Look, some of the kills in this movie are fantastic. And
Mhm.
I think the best one kind of shows the least. And that's when Homeboy tries to go down the laundry chute
Mhm.
and he like you don't even see it stab him. You just see the blood like running up his face, which is
Yeah,
such a cool visual.
because he's
That
just
and the
hanging there
wine
upside
bottle
down.
kill, like that's a whole
Ooh.
star right
The
there.
wine
Those
bottle
two
kill is
kills. Holy
mwah.
shit.
I
Fantastic.
I loved the flare gun kill. That was that
That's a good one.
I think that
That
was
one was
my
okay.
favorite.
That one was fine. I'll say
The
that was
and
fine.
again, that's one where you don't see it actually happen, but you see kind of the
Well, and the lead
aftermath
up
of
to
it.
it is really fun because you've got the bubbles and the neon and
Absolutely. Like it feels like a very odd setting for a kill like that,
yeah.
really.
Yep.
But also
Look,
a perfect setting for a kill like
well, yeah,
that.
it worked for me because I was still mad at her for pouring that shit in the hot tub anyway. Like, who
You're
does
gonna
that?
ruin the hot tub, and that's not yours. That belongs to
Like,
Mrs. Crenshaw, and she works too hard.
exactly.
She
She
does.
does. Like, she straight up, she dies for you girls, man.
Mhm.
And
For
you
your
gonna put bubble bath
sins.
in her motherfucking hot tub. That's
Yeah.
look.
It's
I get that it's
irresponsible.
kind of a trope of the era, but I just like all these characters are just such assholes. Like,
Yes, and that's what I was gonna say, like, where
ooh,
this is not a millennial nasty for the gore, it's a millennial nasty for how mean it is.
Mm.
And
yeah.
there's quite a darkness under everything. I mean, all slashers have quite a darkness running under them, but I haven't done the plot in 60 seconds yet, but this movie begins with a prank gone wrong, and the prank is horrible on like 5 different levels. Like, it's
Oh
a
yeah.
very dark prank. And some of the things, the character who dies by the wine bottle, Chugs, a lot of the things she says throughout are like deeply concerning. They make me want to take her aside and go, like, hey, are you okay?
She's not.
Like,
She's
yeah,
clearly
she's
not
not.
okay.
She's not okay. Um, and like that's where the nastiness comes in. It's the meanness and the darkness underneath, not so much the blood. Although there are a couple of like I do think there is a sexual element to the kills where women are penetrated in the mouth.
Yep.
Which
Almost all
is
of them.
3 yeah. Mhm. So and then one of them specifically ends with like, "Oh, that girl needs to shut her mouth." And I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh my god, like we're putting it all right here for us to see." It's
Yeah.
really easy to make those connections.
Look, I know writers that use subtext and they're all cowards. Um
Good.
no, that's you're 100%. Like it's that kind of double-edged sword. Like it's overtly sexual, but it's
Mhm.
also the you talked when you shouldn't have. Kind of there's that double-edged sword to it. And those kills are particularly nasty.
Yeah. I
Um,
love them, but they are rough.
yeah.
And there's
And
other horrible things of this era, like the way men talk to women, the way sexual, like, uh, ad- assault and also just like sort of sexual misconduct is played
Right.
for jokes.
Constantly. Oh
Um,
my god, yeah.
the quote unquote circling of the fat on a girl who is not fat at all.
Oh.
Yeah, so like the focus on women's bodies and the comments on women's bodies I think are just ripe for analysis, quite frankly.
You mentioned something really interesting in this chapter, which, first of all, the chapter title for this in the Black Christmas, Punish the Bitches, maybe one of
Thank
the
you.
greatest chapter titles I've ever read. But you mentioned something in your chapter on this about women in the 2000s feeling the need to prove that they could hang.
Yes.
And
Big time.
I've talked to women who have expressed this to me as well, like this desire that they can be one of the guys, and
Yes.
that being particularly prevalent around this era, and that very clearly shows in this movie in a lot of ways. Like, could you speak to that more?
Absolutely. So, in the late 90s and early 2000s, we were moving away from second wave feminism into third wave feminism. And just as like a super quick breakdown, second wave feminism was like, we are not decorations, our women's bodies are not for men to look at, like we get to be ourselves. Third wave feminism is like sex positive, we can show our bodies if we want to, being sexy is empowering, etc. So that's a super, super, super watered down version of that. But we were splitting from second wave feminism to third wave feminism, and there was a little fracturing where we weren't getting our footing just yet. And the messaging became, I think the best description of this I've ever heard is in Gone Girl, when she talks about the cool girl.
Yes.
But like that is the best. I like had to pause the movie and just like I was like, I need to just sit with this for a minute. But certainly it was like, well, we fixed feminism, we fixed bigotry in the 90s, it's the 2000s now. Women should be able to take a joke. And if you can't take a joke, then they kind of put you in the bucket with second wave feminists, even though that's not the language they used. It was just sort of like, you are this non-sexual, non-fun.
A prude.
Right, exactly. Versus you can be fun and show off your body and take a joke and be an object for men and like, yay, empowering. But the thing we were failing to mention to women and girls at the time is empowering means having power, and the word empowering got all twisted around into this message of empowering is whatever makes you feel good, but that's not true. So
Right.
women and girls were still having power taken away by being put in this position to say, you better laugh at this joke, you better be able to just move past this thing that was done to you, because if you don't, then you're doing feminism wrong, was the message. It was like,
Mm.
you are being anti-woman if you can't outdrink the boys or whatever. Very toxic, not very negative messaging. Not that we're in a perfect place with it today, but I think those particular problems we've moved away from into probably some other problems.
Right.
But yeah, absolutely. It was like being one of the guys, that phrase makes my head want to explode, because it was sort of like we are supposed to be, we're supposed to act like a man until it was time to have sex,
Mm-hmm.
and then act a certain different way. So I think Sorority Row and Black Christmas are both really good examples of what women were expected to act like, especially considering these movies were written by men at the time.
Right. Yeah. That no.
Feel free to disagree, guys.
Uh, can, can we?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think that's
I don't want to come
possible.
on your show and be like, and here's the final truth.
But by the same token, like if there was anything disagreeable in there, I probably pointed out. But no, I think you, at least from what I've heard and experienced from people that have gone through that's very accurate. And it seems like subtextually, at least,
Mm-hmm.
I think it may be more in the performance than it is in the dialogue.
Yes.
But particularly Chugs
Yeah.
seems to be really wrestling with that,
Mm-hmm.
in particular, like the ways in which she delivers these lines, um like the line about the Rohypnol, the roofie,
Yeah.
like the
Roofie
way
sex ain't so bad. You can get laid and get a good night's sleep.
right, just, and but her delivery of that, there's a tinge of tragedy
Yes.
even in the way she says it. Or
Later
when
she says, my brother's good in bed.
mhm,
Yikes, man.
my doctor's really making me earn those meds this time.
Yeah.
Like every line like that she delivers, there's this element of I'm just joking, but this other element of no, but seriously. And
Yeah.
the way she looks at herself in the mirror when she says cheers slut and just starts
Yep.
chugging the wine is such a heartbreaking moment to watch, because you can, and again, it's all in her performance.
Mm-hmm.
Margot Harshman, I believe, is the actress's name. It's all in her performance, and it's an absolutely incredible subtextual performance on that level. Because again, she's playing it. It's all right there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's, and again, I can't really speak to this because I don't know the writers or the conditions under which this was written. But for a script written by men, I think the actresses performing these, and again, if I'm out of line, say so. I feel like the actresses performing these roles would understand this dichotomy that Ariel's been talking about better than the guys writing this stuff. And so I feel like any infusion of that within those characters is probably a performance question rather than a screenwriting question.
Definitely could be. Um,
And again,
there's
I
so
could be way off base there, but that's just my read.
well, and I don't know either. I just got done saying how lovely Josh Stolberg seems, so I don't want to be like his writing, you know.
Right, sure. I
Um,
mean, maybe he didn't write those scenes. He's got a
yeah,
co-writer on
who
this,
knows?
right? Yeah, we
There
don't
are
know.
so many different ways to deliver the line "Cheers, slut." Um, and the way that it's chosen to do is the most heartbreaking way. She's not having
Exactly.
fun with it at all. So there's certainly a choice made there. I don't know if it's directing or by the actress, but that is clear.
For sure. Yeah. It again, I think it imbues that character in particular with just a level of real tragedy that
Mhm.
I think a lot of these other characters don't have. So,
Mhm.
Ari, you mentioned, oh gosh, about 7 or 8 minutes ago, maybe no, it's probably closer to 10
More
at
than
this
that.
point.
Way more
Um,
than that.
that you hadn't done the plot in 60 seconds yet, and we're almost an hour in. So, what better time really than to go ahead and work on the plot in 60 seconds? You have volunteered to do it graciously. For those just listening in because Ari is here, first of all, I don't blame you. Welcome. But the plot in 60 is the part of the show where we recap the plot of the film that we're talking about in 60 seconds or less. Normally, that is decided by either the D6 of Destiny or the Coin of Justice. But since we have a guest who has graciously volunteered to give us that plot, Ari will be taking that responsibility over today. I am going to put 60 seconds on the clock. I will give you the 30 and 10-second warnings, and your time starts whenever you do.
And here we go. At the beginning of their senior year of college, the women of Theta Pi play a prank that goes horribly wrong. To get back at Megan's boyfriend Garrett for cheating on her, the girls give him fake roofies to make him think he accidentally kills Megan. As the prank continues in the car on the way to the quote-unquote hospital, Megan ends up actually dead. Instead of going to the police, they hide the body in a mine shaft and go about their business. But at graduation, the girls involved start to turn up dead one by one. Is Megan back from the dead to exact revenge? Is it Megan's sister who is soon coming to campus?
30 seconds.
Or did one of the girls finally snap from the guilt? None of the above. Cassidy's boyfriend Andy is trying to protect her future by killing everyone else involved. But the final girls fight back, walk away from the burning sorority house, and kill the bad guy. Or do they? Yes, they do, but then there's another one.
All right. And you, man, like you had so much, like 13 seconds to spare. That was incredible.
I
Well
got
done.
nervous for the Black Christmas one. I got like super nervous, and for this one, I was like, okay, I can do it.
The more you do it, the less nervous you get. Like
Yeah.
I'm at a point now where I don't even prep. I'm just like, all right, what do I remember about this movie? Oh yeah, this happens. That guy does a thing. We circle back around. There's other thing happens. Like, I don't even. But again, I've been doing this for like 4 years now.
Yeah.
So
I just trust the coin. I rarely have to do it.
Oh, there you
Rarely.
go.
Yeah.
it's true. It's
The coin
mostly
and the
these
dice
days. Yeah.
have been kind to me. You guys, where do we start? Do we start about the perfect beginning of this movie or the shitty end of it? Like, where do we start? Because that
Um,
opening, that first act
That
leading up
party?
to leading up to is it Mary or Megan?
Megan.
Megan, leading up to Megan's death. Wow. That's some of the best stuff I've seen in a long time. And
What do you like
spoilers,
about it?
I didn't really like this movie that much. But the build up to the scene where they have her out there, she's filming herself, she flips the girl off, we're still all having a good time. They're talking about getting rocks and stuff, and they're over there giggling to themselves. Homeboy gets the tire iron, and you see him, and you're like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. I literally gasped and like
Yeah.
stood up and held my chest, you guys.
I love that for you.
I was like, whoa! Everybody calm down.
I am such a sucker for things happening in the background of a shot that no one else can see. And you're like, not sure, like, is something going to happen? Like, and that is 100% the vibe that I get when he starts like walking around and like looking at, like getting up, like picking up the tire iron and kind of looking at it. And I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing, man? And I mean, if you've seen the original, you know there's going to be a prank gone wrong, because that's kind of the vibe of the original too. And it's a very different kind of prank. In a lot of ways, I feel like the original prank is just as mean-spirited, if not more so, for its time.
It's really fucked up too. Yeah, they're both very fucked up. They're not like gentle pranks like, we put a rubber spider in your shower. They're like horrifying.
The first movie, the thing that cracks me up about it is the girls are like prepping the prank, and all the other girls like, let's TP her room, let's put glue on her toilets, like all the like kind of classic
normal pranks.
And then homegirl's like, oh, my boyfriend's got a gun.
It's like that escalated
very quickly.
Yeah.
But in this one, I mean, let's talk about the prank. Like it's so Garrett is the guy, he's dating Megan. He's Chugs' brother. He has cheated on Megan. And of course, because sorority, you cheat on one of us, you cheat on all of us. We are one, we are Marshall, blah, blah, blah.
We are Legion.
We are Legion. You know, we are, I don't know. I was trying to think of
We are Devo.
Nation.
We are Devo. Yeah. All of these are great. I love this.
Nailing it.
But so they decide on I feel like only about half the girls are actually in on the prank.
Yeah, a couple of the girls don't know what's going on until a little bit later.
It's like Cassidy and Ellie, I think, are the two that have no context for what's going on. Everyone else seems like they're in on it. But she, while they're in bed together, which of course is on like a camera, like they're filming it, she vomits on herself and starts like convulsing and dies. Basically just kind of like stops moving. He freaks out, and so of course our heroes, our heroines, are basically like, hey, let's go bury her in the woods. You killed her, how dare you? And then we realize, you know, what the extent of the prank is. Megan and is it Jessica start like kissing each other or something, and that's when it's all a joke, and so they're all in on it. They go out to this construction site and I'm not sure what the end game of all of this is.
It seems really poorly thought out, and also they've all been drinking.
Yeah.
Like, when you break this prank down, first of all, it's like, okay, Garrett cheated on Megan. We're all mad at Garrett. Got it. So they're like, let's get back at Garrett. Okay, I follow you here. They're like, let's make Garrett think he did something bad to Megan. Okay, kind of follow you. So they have to decide that Garrett is the kind of person who would roofie his girlfriend.
That's right, because they give him the roofies to give to her.
Right. And we find out it's really just B12 tablets, no big deal. But like, they have to know that their friend is dating a person who would roofie her. Garrett then has to believe that his sister and like his girlfriend's friends, that whole group of friends, would give him roofies for his girlfriend. So I'm like, what kind of fucked up friendship circle is this where they're all like on board with roofies? And then So, okay, we know Garrett's the type of person who would roofie his girlfriend. He's the type of person who's going to believe these are roofies. Great. Megan's going to pretend to die. They could just stop it there and be like, haha, gotcha.
Right.
But they decide to drag it all the way out to be like, now we need to dump her body, which is a whole other level of prank, because it's not just like, oh, we killed her, now we're going to call the police on you, Derek, because you roofied her, we're going to call the cops, ha ha ha, this was a prank. It's like, no, now we have to dismember her body. Like,
with sharp rocks, though, what are you going to do with some sharp rocks?
No, that's a terrible idea. And like the worst, so I'm not proud of this, but like in high school, my friends and I like to prank each other. And like, you know, one time I woke up to go to high school and my car was saran wrapped. Oh no, I'm going to be late for school because my car is saran wrapped. So the next day, like, we let the air out of someone's tires, which is really bad for the rims. And I would never do that now. I know how bad that is. But in high school, we were like, hee hee hee. It was never like, let's pretend roofie a friend who then died. Like, the layers to how bad this prank is are horrifying.
Right. And it's kind of just, again, the ramifications of every level of it are incredibly fucked up. Which then, of course, and someone says something about, oh, well, if there's air in her lungs, she's not going to sink. So we have to get the air out of her lungs, which is what prompts him
to stab her.
To stab her in the chest with the tire iron to begin with.
Look, when I heard that, I kind of thought, is that what's gonna, and then all of a sudden it did. And even though I thought it might, it's still, wow.
It's shocking.
It's one of the gory parts of the movie, but it's
real good.
Yeah, it's jarring. Like it's
because
setup is great, the execution is great. It's fantastic scene.
We don't have Derek's POV for hardly any point in the movie, and so our POV is with the girls who are giggling and all in on the joke, and so that's who we're focusing on. Garrett comes running in essentially out of nowhere and stabs Megan through the chest. It's shocking.
Yeah. And again, it's that everything's happening and playing out. There's a full scene playing out in the background of the shot that we are either barely paying attention to or not paying attention to at all until it's too late. And that facilitates the shock. I mean, if you're watching it closely, then you realize this is all going on in the background at the same time. Like I kind of had an eye on Garrett, 'cause I'm like, that dude's not stable. Something's going on with that guy. And I was right.
Well, do you blame him?
No.
What the fuck?
Right. But
wow.
And then of course, like he becomes even more unstable as the film goes on. Like he takes a mirror to his wrist. Like he's clearly in a very, very bad way. In the 6 months later time frame when this movie makes its little jump later. Like he's clearly in a very bad way. Clearly,
I mean, he did kill Megan.
Right. First, he thought it was an accident, and then he actually does it. Right.
Yep. Like it's, and you got to think about, he and Chugs grew up in the same home. Like wherever they're coming from, they're both not doing good.
Right. There's, and it's interesting to see the different ways in which that plays out in their personalities and within the context of this film, because Chugs kind of seems to throw herself into, being the cool girl, into being the girl that can hang, the girl that can drink, the girl that can do the drugs, the girl that can sleep with whoever, whenever, for whatever reason. Like she throws herself into that. And obviously he's not doing great if he's the kind of guy who's going to be roofing his girlfriend at the behest of his sister.
Right. He's like, my girlfriend's friends gave me these great roofies. This is all going to work out. Like, what was going on in your brain, dude?
Right. And you're already dating her. Like
it's all, the plan is fucked from Jump Street.
It's very fucked. But then like when he's then dealing with the ramifications of this thing that he's done, like he needs professional help very
big
clearly.
time.
Like he's clearly not getting the help that he needs.
Because they all, Tucker, I really liked your comparison to I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's so goddamn perfect because it's a group of young, attractive people going, we have to make a pact. We're not going to call the police no matter what, even though we're all rich white attending college, they're definitely gonna not believe us. I'm like, you guys are
Right.
gonna be the most believed.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah,
And the cops in
they're
these
all
movies are incompetent at best. So no, you're fine.
you're
There were
right.
cops in
That's
this
true.
movie?
Don't worry. So they all agree not to tell anybody. So they're all fucking deteriorating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, and there's such a need for them to tell somebody that each of, with the exception, I think, of Cassidy,
Mhm.
everyone ends up telling
Someone.
somebody because they
Yeah.
can't
I
keep it a
love
secret.
that. I
Yeah.
love that, and the fact that she was about to as well. Like,
Mhm.
Yep.
typical, man. Fucking typical.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's and that I think widens our pool of suspects, but which of course then starts shrinking as they all start getting killed off.
Yeah. Yes.
Am I the only one who kind of saw the ending, like the killer reveal coming?
I guess so, because I thought, I don't know, it was so, for me it was so far out of left field that it kind of killed it for me.
Oh, really?
Like that beginning, the first act set up a second act that was fine, but I was still on board, and then the third act came along and I don't know, I just kind of, they lost me, especially with that reveal, because it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why would, like, I know why he did it, but why would he do that? Like, who the fuck does that?
Yeah, but I mean,
It just doesn't seem realistic at all to me.
characters in
I don't
horror
know.
movies do that.
I know. But it just felt, for that character, it felt so unearned. I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's not really a full character, but
Exactly. That's what
Well,
I'm saying.
it's one of those where when you look back at it, you go, okay, I see how they set that up. They're using essentially like Find My Friends technology, but they're not calling it that. It's
pinning
like,
is what they call it.
yeah, like you can see where your friend is by their phone, which I think was pretty new technology at the time. None of
Oh,
them
yeah.
have smartphones or
They're all on flip
iPhones.
phones. Yeah.
Right. But it's like, okay, I know my boyfriend is this far away. And so when you look back at it, you're kind of like, why did they show us all that if it wasn't going to mean anything? But I think I didn't see the ending coming. I totally believed that it was going to be Jessica's boyfriend because he's like, we need to have the perfect life. My dad's going to be the vice president or whatever.
I think he's probably the biggest red herring. For
Yeah.
Sure.
And then they make it seem like it is him for a second. And
right
then,
until the fireman's axe to the head. Yeah.
Yep.
Right?
Wow. Yeah.
And but again, the pieces with the friend finder or whatever, like, and she looks at it and he's 83 miles away, and I'm like, I don't think that's right. Like, this guy has not been in this movie enough, and we've drawn too fine a point on him for him to not show up again. Like,
that's good movie watching, Stephen. I just didn't watch this movie that well.
Again,
done,
that's just
Stephen.
that's
You
just
did it.
that's just where my head. I'm Benoit Blanc in this shit, I guess. But like, but I mean
Very good.
that's kind of where I was. So when he does show up and like, because she mentions him, and then he's there, it's like surprise, like, which is what he does earlier, and so you're like, oh, okay. But then the reveal happens even a little later than that. Like, they're talking, and it kind of slowly comes out that it's him. So we've got kind of this. It's this kind of multi-tiered reveal thing where you think it's Kyle, and then it's Andy. But yeah, I don't know. I found it a little underwhelming, I think, like Tucker did, but by the same token, I don't know, because we're completely getting away from the original in terms of the reasoning and the logic behind why this is happening. Like, I think it's a smart move narratively to tie it all back to that initial prank. But like, we're not dealing with Mrs. Crenshaw's like child and any of that. Like, I will say though, there are so few things that I love to see more than badass Carrie Fisher with a shotgun.
Oh man, I love to see it.
They did her wrong, man. Like, I feel like she should have gotten a better death.
Me too.
Like,
Agreed.
just the table and the thing, and like, I mean, that's cool, but like, it's Carrie Fisher. You got it. she got to go out with a bang, and she got to take somebody with her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
and
know.
the fact that she didn't is probably the
Mm.
biggest bummer of this movie.
Or like even winged him, like injured him. Like I would have
See,
been okay with that.
I would have
But
liked that, and that being our clue as to who the actual killer was.
That
Like,
would
I
have been
think
good.
that would have been a good move. Like, so yeah, we see Kyle, but Kyle's not bleeding. Now, they don't know that he should be, but we would know that. We would be looking
Mhm.
for that. So I don't know. I think that could have been because she does. She takes that one final shot at him right before he
Mhm.
dies with the buckshot. So that stuff's going everywhere.
Yeah.
You're
yeah.
telling me a piece of that didn't wing him at all? Like,
Had to.
right.
That close range?
Exactly.
Mhm.
But no, she for the brief moment that she gets at the end of this movie to just like tote a shotgun and like she
Get away from my girls.
get the fuck away from my girls. Oh
So
god.
good.
I fucking
So
like
good.
a whole extra star just for Carrie Fisher in this
Mhm.
movie.
I love how she clearly hates them all, but
Yeah.
also feels obligated to protect them. I love that.
Yes.
her
I
She's the
job.
house
really love
mother.
that. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. You have your obligations. I get that. That's rad.
I mean, the role of the house mother in these movies is
Mhm.
like in I would also include the original Black Christmas and the original like all the Black Christmases and the Sorority Row films. Like I would
Mhm.
include at least the originals in the first remakes. I think the second remake of Black Christmas, I don't think there is one. But like the house mother characters are so different in each of those films and
Mhm.
such a fun part of all of those movies in different ways. Like I am really like because that again, I don't as mentioned, I have no context for Greek life. I think the closest thing my campus had to Greek life, which I was a part of, but it wasn't that at all, was this group called Burpo, which was formed by some guys in the 70s. And then their kids all went to the same school that I went to and kind of decided to restart it. And I was part of that, like, third wave, second generation of that. So
What did Burpo stand for?
it didn't stand for anything.
Oh, okay.
Just for burps.
Yeah, just for, guys belching, I guess.
For
It was
Got it.
You
Okay.
know,
the
for burps.
70s. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
for burps.
I worked in university housing for like the first 8 or 9 years of my career. And I never did work in a sorority house, but a couple of times I interviewed for, they weren't called house mother positions, but like for the director of sorority houses where you live there and you take care of them like this. So like I could have been a Mrs. Crenshaw at one point in my career.
You would have been a great Mrs. Crenshaw.
You would have had a shotgun like in
They
your closet.
won't let you have a shotgun on campus, which is
Boo.
good. That's good. That's good.
It's good, but as a house mother, though, like, doesn't that
No.
make you
How
a
would you-
good guy with a gun?
Tucker, damn it.
I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. Like,
No,
I
it's-
couldn't help it. It just
we
burst
have
out of
to.
me.
Yes.
Oh God.
Very
I
good.
may never recover from that one.
You might not. You might not.
Worth it. Worth it.
It's fine. I've packed enough buckshot in my day personally to not be worried about statements like that.
I was gonna
Right.
say you're from the Midwest. I'm sure there's some hunting somewhere in your past, so it's just kind of part and parcel of life in
Yeah.
these United States.
It's true.
Yes. No, I've
But-
never hunted. I have fished and cleaned fish. And I
Mm.
have packed a lot of like buckshot shells, like shotgun shells.
Okay.
Have you guys ever done that? It's like you take the little plastic shell thing, you have you're drunk in a shed to start with, right?
Obviously.
That's a
that
really
sounds
good-
like the best way to start any story.
That's a safe way to start. And you've got all this buckshot and you pour it into the little plastic shell thing and you've got this machine that like tamps it down and like packs it down really good. And you can kind of get into a rhythm of it while you're with your cousin who's also drunk, and you just kind of keep packing shells until they tell you to come inside.
Nice.
For example, I don't know anyone that has happened to.
Right. No, how could
No.
you possibly?
Yeah.
Right.
It's
This
all
is-
speculation.
this is all
Oh,
hypothetical.
I
Wild-
imagine that's
wild
what it would be like
speculation.
if somebody
Yeah.
grew up in hunting culture.
Sure. No, I mean that tracks.
We don't know.
Who's to
How
say?
would any of us know?
How would none of us would
this is
know.
such a foreign experience for all of us.
Oh, this is good content.
I
Too.
love all of this so much.
Gun corner. God, this is gun corner on Disenfranchised Pod.
Hey,
We have so many corners in this podcast. What's one more? I love it.
Yeah.
there you go.
It's like you live in like a fucking dodecahedron. You got so many quarters.
Pretty much, yeah. Speaking of guns, that flare gun, like
oh man,
that is Chekhov's flare gun, because they pull that thing out at the beginning and it does not go off until almost the end.
Mm-hmm.
And boy howdy, is that, I think, a really good payout, because Claire is the character that has, and I'm going to take a sidebar here just to say it took me at least an hour into this movie until I was able to tell these girls apart.
Okay.
Like, they all kind of have that, like, that aughts kind of just like thin, long hair.
Yeah.
Kind of this, with the exception of Ellie, who's got the glasses and the braids.
Yeah.
They pretty much all look alike.
I would say that Rumor Willis stands out because she has such a unique look.
Yeah, that's Ellie with the glasses.
With the glasses.
Yeah, but outside of that, I agree with you, Stephen. Like, for about the first half of this movie, I was like, who?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was the one that was really, really mean. Like, the meanest one of them all. I don't remember her name.
Yes.
She stood out. But, like, outside of her, the rest of them were just, like, kind of her underlings.
But then you've got,
Heather's Mean Girls style thing.
You got the other blonde in Chugs. And then, so I was having trouble telling those two apart for the first, like, several minutes. And then there's Claire, who is Asian. But she's wearing her hair exactly the same way that everyone else is. So in
Bubble
group
bath
shots,
girl.
it's impossible to tell anyone apart. Like, it's nuts, this movie.
Yeah.
And then you've got two characters whose names start with a C, Claire and Cassidy. So I'm constantly getting the two of them mixed up. I'm like, wait, which is that, Claire or is that Cassidy? I don't know. So it took me a good, and I don't know if I even know what Megan looks like because she's done so quickly in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
She looks like her. Is it the same actress that plays her sister?
It's not.
No,
it's not.
No.
Okay,
that would have been cool.
I couldn't remember because she's on screen for like a minute.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, is that the same?
Megan is stunt casting 101. That is Audrina Patridge from The Hills, I
Who
think.
dat? Oh,
The Hills. Not the ones that have eyes,
Oh.
although that is my favorite Robot Chicken sketch. They combined The Hills with The Hills Have Eyes, and God, I love it so much. It makes
My
me laugh
favorite
so hard.
Robot Chicken sketch is What a Twist.
What a twist.
what a twist!
That's my
Love it.
favorite one.
So good. But yeah, like it was rough telling all these girls apart. Anyway.
Okay. I did not have that problem, but I don't know.
And I'm looking at like the cast right here. Like, I've got like a picture of the cast like pulled up off to the side on my computer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at them going, I can't, like, I think that one might be Megan because she's the one I recognize the least, but I'm still having a rough go. So,
well, you know how they do the introductions of the whole group of friends is by gathering them together in a bedroom to do shots and going, we're going to say something nice about each other. And so that gets, you hear their name and you hear a fact about them. And so then that's like your exposition for the movie.
And the nice thing is the most backhanded thing.
Yeah,
any
they're
of them can
terrible.
possibly say. Yeah. Everybody's so mean.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But,
and it is like earlier you mentioned Claire is Asian, and that is true. And that is the only fact we get about her.
exactly.
Because
that's kind of who she is.
Jessica's like quote unquote compliment to her is, I like being your friend because it makes me multicultural without having to work hard. And it's just like, holy moly, we don't have time to unpack all that.
Right. And it's that casual 2000s era racism where it's like, well, we've solved racism, so we can be casually
this isn't
racist.
I'm not racist. I'm just making this joke to my Asian friend about my Asian friend.
Just making an observation about what distinguishes us from one another.
We didn't know the word microaggressions yet.
No, that had not been coined, or at least was not in the popular lexicon.
It was not in the zeitgeist culturally.
No, it was not.
Yes.
Flare gun.
Yep.
This was a digression. I'm talking about flare gun. Like, she's the one who has it pretty much the whole time. So when she gets dragged into the bubbles and with the neon, we see that bright flash of light coming from out of just the middle of the bubbles that looking vaguely sky beamy, honestly, for half a second. And then we get the reveal of her with the flare in her mouth, and her jaw is just starting to
It's horrible.
turn to ash and crumble. Like it's
all bubbly, like you know, like a burn.
It's like blistering
would be.
and
Yes.
It's her, and
It's wonderful.
I don't know, like if I can even categorize the levels of horrific some of these deaths are. Like the wine bottle kill is, I think, particularly horrific. I think at least 2 girls get like stabbed up from the bottom of their jaw.
I mean, the initial kill is shocking.
That's pretty gruesome too.
Like, and they don't. I was gonna say, yeah, they don't shy. They show it. Like,
a couple
they don't shy away
times
from it. Yeah,
because we see the recording of it later.
Yes.
From Megan's phone that she was just recording on and just laid off to the side so she could, I guess, enjoy all this later.
Yeah, show it to her grandkids.
LOL prank.
Yeah.
Hashtag with my friends.
Right.
College life.
YouTube had existed for 1 year at this time.
She says I think that's right, because I think 2009 was the year that Time Magazine named you Person of the Year. So we've all technically been Time Magazine's Person of the Year.
Kind of fun.
Which is great. I've toyed with the idea of putting that on a job resume. I
think you ought to.
I haven't done it yet, but I have considered it a few
kind of
times.
fun.
Right? Just be like, oh yeah, that was the year we all were Person of the Year because of YouTube. But she mentions that when Jessica like opens her laptop at the beginning, oh, this is sure to be a YouTube classic. And I was like, this is kind of toward because YouTube kind of signals the end of like the wild west of the internet, because everything becomes very like streamlined and sanitized.
It becomes the place.
Yeah.
And, you know, not that there were a ton of rules, but there were some rules. And they started to like have some standards, and it wasn't just like 4chan and Motherless and E-Bombs World, and it was sort of like, now we're going to put this stuff here. But yeah. It was a different time.
It was.
Listeners, young listeners out there, you don't even know. It was a different time.
Yeah. I mean, look, there were lawless days on the internet, much like I imagine the Old West would have been. And like the only person that was really enforcing any rules was the moderator of the message board you happened to be on. And if they were
awake.
Yeah, if they were awake, and if they weren't on a power trip.
Speaking of the Wild West, I watched Tombstone the other day for the first time.
Oh, what a good movie.
It's very good, yeah. I was like, Western, I don't really care. But no, it was really good. Sam Elliott, he can come get it. I don't care.
But I'm your Huckleberry. Like,
right. Yeah.
And Ari, all hell's coming with me.
It's yes.
I mean,
what a cast. What a
cast. What a pitch. Exactly. You got Kurt Russell, you got Bill Paxton, who's like Val Kilmer in one of his best roles. Sam Elliott.
Oh my God, the sweatiest man.
Thomas Hayden Church, like early Thomas Hayden Church. Like what a great movie Tombstone is. Way better than that Kevin Costner Wyatt Earp movie. That I think that's a Walter Hill picture. But yeah.
People liked that movie, I think.
I've seen like 2 Westerns, man. I don't know. I had to watch all these 2000s movies so I could write my book.
Fair. I mean, look, if you're looking for a good Western, Sam Raimi directed a good one called The Quick and the Dead with Sharon Stone, Gene Hackman, Leo DiCaprio, Russell Crowe.
Surely I should watch that.
Keith David. I mean, it's a Sam Raimi Western. How can you possibly go wrong?
Not for nothing, but Clint Eastwood's The Unforgiven is a personal favorite of mine.
I have seen that one, but I was a shithead in high school, and I think I need to rewatch it.
Maybe.
Word.
Like that's the last Clint Western, and it says it's like his final word on the genre, and it's really good. We can give you more Western recommendations later. I guess.
Okay, sure.
There's some good ones.
There are a few. I mean, it was one of the most popular genres in the country for decades. So, you know, not for nothing. What else do we need to say about Sorority Row?
well, the ending. I want to talk about the ending for
Okay, yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So this movie does a lot of time jumps. You know, it starts at the party at the beginning of the senior year. Most of the action takes place at graduation at the end of senior year. And then there's just a little epilogue at the start of the next fall semester. So Megan's sister has come to campus. She's no, it's a year. It's more than a year later. It's
It was
like
like
not the
15
next semester, but
months.
the following. Yeah, because in the first year she would have had to become a Theta Pi.
Yeah, because
Anyway,
she was still like a high school senior at the end of the graduation party.
so like a year and change later, it's like they're doing Theta Pi is doing their rush events where they're trying to recruit new members, and we see that Megan's sister has become a Theta Pi, and they're like, yay, doing their rush things. And the very last shot of the movie is someone like a man's hand holding
Mhm.
a tire iron, and it has a slash at the wrist, which tells us it's Garrett.
Yeah.
But Jessica was supposed to have killed Garrett with her car. So that's where it was kind of like the delete. Like, could it be a cliffhanger sequel thing? Like, is Garrett coming back to get his revenge on the girls? So I do wonder where, like, Josh Stolberg writing a sequel, I wonder what that will be like.
And I wonder if he'll pick up that thread in particular,
Right.
if it's
I
been
have
too
no idea.
long.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I didn't realize that that was the dude with the slit wrists. I thought it was the actual bad guy who got burned. I thought those were burns. Like it happens so quickly. It's like the Magneto moves the chess piece kind of thing, where it's like bam, credits. Like, did you see it? Like,
Right. Or
Am I right?
the
and
Well,
top at the end of Inception, but yeah.
yeah,
I took it to mean that was Garrett.
That was my read of it as well.
I
Okay.
trust that. Like, I believe that that is true. I trust y'all's judgment.
Okay. Thank
Like
you.
Yeah,
Sorority Road 2, Garrett's Revenge,
I'm into that. I'd watch
the
that.
the return of Garrett. But again, now I wonder, has too much time passed? Is it going to be like Cassidy and Ellie's daughters going off to college and joining a sorority now? Like,
Yeah, I
and
don't know what you
That's
do with
true.
a sequel.
It's been 15 years.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
That's an entire childhood.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
That's
So like, yeah, like where do we go from here? Like and I think it's smart. Again, I think narratively it's smart to tie it back to that original prank in the first
Mm-hmm.
movie. So, Garrett would make a lot of sense. Andy would make a lot of, if he is able to survive the fire, like he would also make a lot
Mm-hmm.
of sense. Um, the image of the three girls and Megan's sister gets so little to do and really just exists to be
Like a red
kind of
herring,
kind
kind of.
a red herring, but also
Mhm.
just awful. Like to every, like, yes, her sister died, and that is tragic, and I don't want to diminish that, but she's just terrible to everybody in this movie.
She's like getting revenge on behalf of her sister.
Yeah. And so like maybe she becomes your villain in the next one, like,
I
which would
love
make
it when
sense.
Homegirl's like, "Oh man, we didn't even mean to murder Megan," and
And she's
everybody's
like,
like, her sister's like, "What?" And the
Megan's
house
dead.
mother's like,
because as far
"Fucking
as
what?"
she knows, Megan is missing,
Right.
which
That
is
was
a
the story
different
they all went
movie.
with.
I thought that was a good comeuppance for that character, because that
Yes.
character is absolutely awful. And then when she shoots her mouth off and just like
Mm-hmm.
tells everybody that does not need to know that,
hmm
Mm-hmm.
And then like
it's a nice moment.
5 seconds after that, we get the reveal that she told her boyfriend.
Yep.
And so you're just like,
Yeah.
you were the one that told us not to tell anybody.
Yep.
And I think that's when Cassidy flips. Like, am I the only one that didn't say anything?
And
Yo, she was
you
gonna
kind
though.
of expect Ellie to go, no, me either. But Ellie just kind of looks at the floor, and then we find out later Ellie told Andy.
Right, which is how he knew about it at all,
Yeah.
and was
Which is fucked, man.
hmm
Like, if I shared a secret with a friend who then went and told my partner, and neither of them told me, I'd be like, you can both kick rocks.
hmm And like, what was his relationship with Ellie? Like, why did Ellie
Right.
confide that in him? Like,
I don't know.
had they been an item previously? That's kind of the implication that I got, and I was like, did I miss something in this movie? Like, was that here and I just didn't see it? Or
No, that felt like it was supposed to be ambiguous,
okay,
and I kind of appreciated that, because it kind of leaves it up to your imagination what their relationship was
Mm-hmm.
at any given point in time. I thought
Mm-hmm.
that was fun. It was clever.
The implication that he might have already known about it when he started dating Cassidy, but was like waiting for her to say something, just feels like a
Maybe.
little extra insidious on his part.
I didn't even think of it that way. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I just assumed he and Cassidy were together at the start. Do we not see
Yeah.
them together at the start?
I don't think we
know.
see them together until the time jump at
Yeah.
graduation.
All right, that's true. Interesting.
But at least that's my memory.
Yeah, I can't remember seeing that. We see Cassidy do a choreographed dance number
Mhm.
real quick at the party,
Right.
and
Like
then
we
she
do.
goes upstairs. So
Yeah, like I don't remember her ever, with the exception of Megan. I don't remember any of them being with a guy at the beginning.
yeah,
So yeah, my recollection is that my assumption was that happened sometime in between that time jump. So
yeah, it could be.
but yeah, I just the idea, and again, that kind of plays into the villain angle of it. Like, did he know and was just kind of like waiting to see if
Yeah,
she would trust him enough to let him in on it,
I don't
kind of a
know.
thing, which is a shitbag move, quite frankly. But yeah.
So we'll see if this sequel happens.
Well, you'll be back to talk about it if it
Yes,
does happen.
most definitely.
You'll be back. We're gonna have you back before that, though. Don't even worry about it.
I'm not worried.
I didn't think you would be.
Yo, speaking of just out of left field, I apologize, but have you seen the remake of Slumber Party Massacre?
Yeah, I have it right here.
Is that like band meeting behind the scenes? Is that something you'd be interested in talking about?
Me?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean,
have the VHS. They put out a
owns it.
VHS. It's fantastic.
I wrote 3,000 words about feminism in the original trilogy. So would I like to talk about Slumber Party Massacre? Yes.
Can you link me to whatever that is you were just talking about?
Sure, I can do
but
that.
that remake, Let's put that on the calendar, Steven. Can you?
Okay.
This
can
is
you throw it on there somewhere.
Yeah.
I have my Slumber Party Massacre 2 poster.
Hey,
Yeah.
no, I was actually thinking about that today because when I was done watching this, I got some new Blu-rays and I was kind of moving things around so I could fit them in, and I was moving my modern VHS releases, and Slumber Party Massacre was there, and I was like, oh, you know what? Yeah,
I'm your girl, most definitely.
Hell yeah.
way into that.
I mean, yeah.
Cannot wait.
At this point, like, if there's just a like a Millennial Nasty era remake or something that we haven't covered yet, you're pretty much going to be our point of contact.
Well, and it's not even a Millennial Nasty, but just like I think your perspective on it is going to be really interesting.
Oh, thank you. I would love to.
Oh, it's not on the list yet. I will add it to the list.
Damn it, Steven.
Add it to the calendar.
Figure it out, man.
Oops. No, I will. I'll get it sorted. Don't even worry about it. Sorority Row came out, ironically enough, given the conversation at the beginning of this episode, on September 11th, 2009. # never forget. It opens at number 6 at the box office. Opens to $5.1 million. On its way to 12 million domestic. It earns another 15 internationally for a worldwide box office total of $26.7 million on a budget of $12.5 million. So it does end up making back. It almost makes its budget back domestically, but then the worldwide puts it over, which is usually not a good indication that it's going to get a sequel. Again, as the writer said, where have you guys been? So this one didn't hit in theaters, but has since probably hit on home media in a way that has allowed people to discover it. The number one movie in America on September 11th, 2009, # never forget, is the Tyler Perry film, I Can Do Bad All by Myself.
Okay.
Don't even need no help.
The only one thing I know about is that's the one with Taraji P. Henson, because I love Taraji P. Henson.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. In second place, the movie 9, which had opened on the 9th of September.
Was that the
9909. Yes.
animated movie? Tim Burton was involved somehow.
There's
A lot.
green.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Greenness
there's a
there,
lot of
yeah.
greenness.
Okay.
Elijah Wood.
Never saw it, but I
Brando,
recall all the
Brando.
green.
Yeah.
Same.
And like there's like ragdolls or in like a post-apocalyptic
Sure,
wasteland,
yeah.
something like that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
something like
Sometime.
that. Who knows?
In third place, I think this one might be his masterpiece. It's Inglorious Bastards in third, which has been in theaters for 4 weeks for a total of 104 million. Now that's what he
Death
says
proof.
that's what he says at the end of the movie. Is
No,
why.
it's death proof, but
No,
it's
but
death proof,
that's
though.
what Brad Pitt says at
Fucking
the end of the
love
movie.
Death Proof.
Just
That's
say it,
what
it's
the
Death
fuck
Proof.
is up. Death Proof fucking rules, man.
Yeah, dude.
I did not care for Death Proof when I saw it. I need to rewatch
That's
it.
too bad for you, and I hope that. Yeah, dude. I saw Grindhouse twice at the theater, dude. Twice in the
So good.
2 weeks it was in the theater. Saw it twice. Wowzers. That's fun.
In fourth place, future Razzie winner All About Steve. What if it was all about Steve? In fifth place, the third week of The Final Destination.
Yikes.
That's the fourth.
Is that
one,
the
right?
one I don't like?
That's the bad one, right?
It's not good.
Yeah, the fourth
Probably
one.
the one I don't like.
The fifth one's the one is my favorite. The fourth one is
Fifth
my
one-
least favorite.
3's my fave.
3 is a lot of fun. 3
3.
is a lot of fun. 5 is a good return to form.
I agree.
4 is
Agreed.
a big old disappointment.
Yeah.
That's the 3D one too,
It's
which
a
I
crap.
remember the 3D effects being just awful when I was watching it at
Yes.
home on my non 3D television. But yeah,
Yo, but part 3, do you remember the DVD for part 3? Like you could change the story a little bit.
Yes. Mhm.
Remember that?
I
Yes.
don't.
That's wild.
don't
I think I
watched
still
on
have
my
that DVD actually.
Of course you do.
Yeah,
Now,
that was a
maybe
fun
not.
one.
This has become a really fun like sharing physical media portion where Ari and Tucker are just like pulling VHSs and DVDs out and just showing each other.
You guys want to see my Bloody Valentine 3D glasses?
Oh, that's
Oh my
fantastic.
God,
Yo,
that's
I used to
awesome.
have those too because I had that DVD.
Yeah.
I bought that. Wow, there's a big story behind that I'm not going to tell right now. But yeah, that's fantastic.
We'll wait till we stop recording because that sounds like a fun story to hear. Sixth place, as we said, is Sorority Row. 7 is Whiteout. What if there was a Whiteout?
with what's her nuts from those one movies?
Beckinsale.
That was
Kate
really
Beckinsale.
good.
Nailed it.
Yeah. That's a really good movie though. You guys should check that out if you haven't.
I have not
It's
seen
a lot
that
of fun.
one.
Yeah, it doesn't sound familiar at all.
Yeah, it's very isolated. It's very claustrophobic. It's
It's
real
based on
good.
It's based on a comic. I know that, or a graphic
Maybe.
novel. Sorry,
Straight up,
but
maybe. Who knows?
that's all I know about it.
I just remember it being real good.
And it has Kate Beckinsale in it, so I would probably like it.
Can't go wrong.
anyway. Yeah. In 8th place, we got District 9. In 9th place, we have Gamer. I don't know if that's a future episode of this podcast or not.
that movie's awful. Have you guys seen that movie?
No, I have not.
Dexter.
No, I have not either.
Dexter's like the villain, right? Michael
Dexter's
C.
the
Hall. Is that
villain.
his
Yeah,
name?
Michael C. Hall, yeah.
Yeah. And you got Gerard Butler. Just Gerard Butler and all over the place.
Oh,
And
God.
it's
I have not seen that, but it unlocked a memory when you said gamer.
okay.
Do you guys remember that movie Stay Alive from 2006? I'm looking for it on my shelf.
Dude.
You
that
guys want to
had,
do that movie ever?
I was going to say that's on our list. Yeah.
That's
Can I
got the
please?
guy from Dazed and Confused is in that.
Yes.
That's also in all those other Linklater movies.
Where is
fucking
it?
I need to
Adam
write down all
something.
these movies that we're supposed to be covering with you, Ari.
Yes.
It should be right there on my shelf. Where is it? I can't
Hey,
find it.
that
Have you
happened. That
watched it
just happened to
recently?
me with Final
Yeah.
Destination 3, man. They come and they go. You
Yeah.
move and like you lose shit.
It's part of it. Anyway, Stephen, we are like, I keep interrupting. You're trying to like run your show, and I'm like, look at my
Nah.
shelf, listeners on this audio medium.
No, I'm way interested in your shelf though.
Here's the thing, Ari. It's usually Tucker. So
well, now you've got two of us to just
right.
fucking
It's fine.
go
No,
off. Oh, my
I'm-
headphone.
Oh
I'm
no.
used to it, is what I'm saying. So yeah, no worries.
Very
I'm
good.
almost done too, because the 10th movie out is Julie and Julia, which I saw in the theaters
yeah.
with my mom.
That's a movie to see with
That's
your
a
mom. I
mom
watched that
movie,
movie.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
watched it with my
Definitely
mom
a mom
too.
movie.
There you go. Yeah, my mom and I went to the theaters for the last movie I saw in the theaters with my mom was Ryan Johnson's Knives Out. It was the last movie I saw in
Fuck
theaters with my
yeah.
mom.
Ryan Johnson represent.
Just me and my
Yeah.
mom going to the
Yeah.
theater watching a whodunit because my mom loves mysteries. Like
My mom
that's
does
her
too.
genre. Yeah,
I think I had her over to watch that, but I think the last movie my mom and I saw in the theater together was It Chapter 2, which is very disappointing.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
One of my partner's favorite
yeah.
movies, though.
Well,
there's
win
some
some, lose
really
some.
good there's some really good stuff going on there, but just as a whole it just doesn't do what it needs to do.
Yeah,
Bill Hader is a bright spot for me in that film.
for sure.
Love that man.
Yeah, he is great in that for sure. I absolutely agree.
I honestly though, like how did they not cast Seth Green as one of the third? How do you
I
not
know.
do that?
I'm
Come
telling
on,
you.
it's right there. It's right there.
Yep, I'm with you, man.
Right there. What the fuck?
They didn't ask us. That's where they went wrong.
Right? That's
They
the
should have asked
problem.
us. My DMs
Right.
are open, Hollywood.
Right.
The brain
same.
trust is ready.
I've always wanted to be part of like a think tank. That's like my dream job.
Well, what
is
are we
just to be
doing
in a
here?
think
I'm
tank.
pretty sure this qualifies
It's
as a
happening
think tank.
right now, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no one's paying me to do this though. That's the
Well,
thing.
not with that attitude.
Well,
Nope.
they should, is all I'm saying. This is what I'm trying to put out into the universe.
And with that, listeners, go to patreon.com/disenfranchisepod.
Yes, absolutely do that. $5 a month, you get access to a ton of bonus content. I will say the tomatometer on this movie, Sorority Row from 2009, is at 26%, which feels rude.
Yeah, I think that is not the voice of the people.
Yeah.
That is the voice of the critic. The audience score is slightly higher at a 33, though. So,
But what's the letterbox score? Because that's where horror fans go.
Can
to
I
feel
guess?
better.
Wait, can I guess what the
Well,
letterbox score is?
yes.
Let me guess.
let me do the meta score first, which is 24, generally unfavorable reviews based on 11
Yeah,
critics.
blah, 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 blah,
And the letterbox score, Tucker, your guess is?
blah. The letterbox score is going to be somewhere in between 2.6 and 2.9. I lowballed it. What is it, Steven?
It's actually 2.6.
It's 2.6,
Yes!
man. Holy
Woo!
shit.
Whew!
This is like a new skill that we've discovered he's had. Like within the last month, we've
That's
discovered this.
Uncanny. That's incredible.
Now,
I
in
tried to
fairness,
keep it within 3.
this is the
know.
closest he's gotten, and only the second time he's actually gotten it right. But like,
Can we figure out some way to monetize this?
I would love that.
I'm feeling real good about it, yeah.
I feel like we need to be carnies about this and put this skill to work.
This has become, I think, this I think has the makings of a new segment on this show.
I absolutely.
Please
Called-
exploit me, please.
Tucker guesses
Way
the
into it.
letterbox score. So
Very
Man,
good.
I'm never far off, is what I'm saying. And that,
Good
you know
for
what?
you.
That's
the
I don't
time
know
you
if
were
it's
wrong,
so
you're
much.
only off by like 0.1 or 0.2. So
I don't know if it's so much a skill of mine, but all letterbox stores average out right around 3 anyway. Anywhere between
Dude,
2.5 and
Show
3.5.
us behind the curtain. I just want to be impressed.
All right, okay, well then
need to know
they're
the sausages
wild,
here.
and I guess like those guys who do the Google Maps things. You know what I'm talking about? How
Nope.
did they do that?
What are you talking
Like
about?
there's this thing on the internet where someone will just show you a picture, like a Google Street View picture, and someone will be tasked with figuring out where the fuck that is with no context except for that picture.
Oh,
And
isn't
there are
that a
people
game?
there are people who can do this in like minutes.
yeah,
There's a game
I don't know
of that,
how
right?
do they fucking probably. How
Yeah,
do they do that? Like whose
it was
brain
like-
works that way? That's fantastic.
There was like a lockdown game that, like, in COVID, we were all doing all
Oh, yeah.
types of weird
I was
stuff just
there,
to
yeah.
feel alive.
Yeah.
Like, there was a game where you could like get dropped into Google Maps and in so many clicks had to figure out where you were.
Mm.
I didn't play it because I'd get lost in a paper bag.
Same.
But
I know there are people on TikTok who like you can take like a picture of like where you are and kind of like take a picture around of like your surroundings, and they can generally figure out right where you are.
that's like
Just
scary,
like with
right?
people
Yeah.
like from around the world who have never been anywhere near where you are. Like, how
Mhm.
do they do that?
I don't know.
It's almost
dude.
like remote viewing. You remember that That movie, that guy who did what was that Nosferatu movie with Willem Dafoe? Shadow of the Vampire. That guy did another movie called Suspect Zero that was about remote viewing, which is a real thing. And I say real because I don't necessarily believe in it, but the government did actually spend money on trying to get people to like use their psychic powers to see where shit was. And that movie was rad.
Okay. None of this sounds familiar to me, but I love everything I heard.
That's okay. Yeah.
And speaking of hearing things, Ari, out of 5 stars, how do you?
Classic transition, Steven. That was beautiful.
I would love to hear how you rate 2009's Sorority Row.
I give it 4 out of 5 tire irons.
Hell nice. Yeah. Tucker, what about yourself?
Look, I came into this motherfucker giving it a 1.5. But I'm coming out of this motherfucker giving it a 2.5.
Hell yeah, man. That's what's up.
Whereas I came in giving it a 2.5, and I'm coming out giving it a 3.
Yes.
There you go.
This is what we're gonna raise that letterbox score.
That's what we're about. That is Ari's mission as the evangelist of the Millennial Nasty.
Look, we want to see that sequel. Just saying.
We've got to.
Any excuse to get Ari back on the podcast, quite frankly.
You do not have to work that hard, Steven. You keep talking about it like I don't want to be here. I like coming on the podcast. You just invite me. That's all you need to do.
Right on. Right on. Hell yeah. Well, again, I've got another. I know your card is getting pretty full because I know you're on the press tour right now for Millennial Nasties.
I always have time for you guys.
Oh, you. And look, no one appreciates that more than us. But tell us where we can find Millennial Nasties. Tell us about where else we can find you.
Yeah.
On socials and just plug, baby, plug.
Yes. So Millennial Nasties is out September 17th. You can pre-order it now internationally and domestically. There's lots of options. So you can get hardcover, paperback, ebook, audiobook. And this is hot off the press. I was just talking to the publisher today on the day of recording. We're going to get some signed copies up for sale pretty soon, too, because a couple people have asked me about that. And I was like, hey, is this a thing? So watch out for that. You can go to encyclopocalypse.com for their pre-order, or if you don't know how to spell that, you can go to any of my socials and it'll be the pinned post there. And you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Ari_Hellraiser. And you can also find me on Letterboxd at the same name. And as Jessica would say, friend me on Facebook. I'll totally confirm.
Love that. I have so enjoyed reading Millennial Nasties. I cannot wait to buy a physical copy because I am a physical media enthusiast and I just want to have the tactile thing. And then, of course, I've got to track you down and have you sign it. So let's just give us an excuse to hang out in person sometime.
Yes.
So, I mean, we don't live so far away that we can't make that happen.
You should come to Telluride this year.
I don't know what that is.
Telluride Horror Show in October in Telluride, Colorado. It's the film festival that Mike got me involved with last year, and it was so super fun. And you should come hang out with me and Mike at Telluride.
I mean, nothing would make me happier than to hang out with you and Mike.
Lock it in.
I will look into it. I am starting a new job soon, so I don't know what my free time is going to look like. But
no excuses. Make it happen, Steven. Make it happen.
Damn it, Tucker. No, but I am so excited for everyone else to read this book and to discover these movies. Some for the first time, some maybe rediscovering them. But I am excited for the wave of Millennial Nasty reappraisals. I'm excited for that term to become the new norm. I'm excited for that one to gain momentum. So no, I'm so excited for people to read this. I am so excited for you being the one to do. And thank you for including us as part of your press tour. Like that's.
Thank you for having me. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I'm the one who needs to say thank you.
No, like I'm just like, wait, she's doing a press tour. She wants to be on this show. Like,
absolutely.
I mean, yeah, sure. That I feel like I've arrived.
Now I've talked about a whole chapter on my book on this show.
You have, yes, both Black Christmas and Sorority Row are
That's that
covered
whole ass chapter.
in the Punish the Bitches chapter. That is what
Yep.
that chapter is called. It covers both of those movies.
Mhm.
It was one of my favorite chapters to read, quite frankly. And not even, I mean, not only because of the title, but definitely in part because of the title for sure. It's a great title.
You don't have to rate it on Goodreads, but you can if you want to. I
Okay.
will say that. At the time of recording, it currently has 5 stars on Goodreads.
Well,
So-
I'll be happy to add 5 more to it. Yeah, absolutely. No, for sure. Like, thank you so much for coming on again. We're gonna talk as soon as this is over and figure out when the next time you're gonna come on is. Because again, I want to get you on closer to when the book is actually coming out, so that we can talk more about another movie that you cover in the book. And I got one picked, so
Okay, I'm excited.
But for our part, I guess this is the Disenfranchised podcast. And you've just listened to our episode on Sorority Row. You can find us on social medias. We're on Instagram, Letterboxd, Facebook, Blue Sky, and YouTube at Disenfranch Pod. If you do follow us on any podcatcher, please make sure you leave us a 5-star rating and review on that podcatcher, particularly if it is Apple Podcasts. That does help us go a long way to finding more listeners like yourself. And we have said that if you do leave us a 5-star rating and review, we will read it on the podcast. No new ones since the last one, but anytime you're ready, guys, just drop it and we'll absolutely read it. So just letting you know. If you would like to support us monetarily, as Ari mentioned earlier, head on over to patreon.com/disenfranchpod. You can find weekly episodes of our What Are We Watching show where we just talk about stuff that we watched. Last time Ari was on, she did an episode of What Are We Watching, and it was a banger. And we've had, most recently, we've had our buddy Samuel Dumas as of the time of this recording.
Sammy was on the last one,
who you heard just a few weeks ago on our John Carter episode, which we're recording these pretty far in advance right now.
So. That's so far in the future, Steven.
I know. This is like end of March. This is an end of March episode that we're recording at the beginning of March.
I wonder what my life will be like when this comes out.
It's impossible to know.
It is.
Who knows?
Everything could be different, or everything could be the same. Or maybe some stuff's different and others isn't. I don't know, man.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, dude. And we also, speaking of the Patreon, I do want to let you guys know that we have recently started posting our full-length main feed episodes for free on the Patreon as a way of asking for more engagement. So if you guys want to comment on anything we say in the episode, we will be able to read those comments. Just follow us on Patreon. If you have other Patreon accounts, you don't even have to pay us money to do that. Just go ahead and shoot us a follow, and you can write anything you want to.
And that is the official conversation of
Correct.
The Disenfranchised podcast. You are guaranteed to get a reply. Mm-hmm. I guarantee it. I personally guarantee it. I have answered every comment.
He has. It's true.
On last week's Disenfranchised episode,
I popped in and made one straight up comment, but that was all
like
I did,
he is known to do.
Mm-hmm.
But
if you want to agree or disagree with any of my feminist takes, please get in the comments.
Yeah, look, we want to talk. We're not saying you don't have to agree with us. Don't pander to us. Tell us how you feel, man. We want to talk about this shit.
Yeah, if you want to tell me I didn't understand this movie or any movie from the 2000s, I think you should say it in the comments.
You should say it.
Come out and say it, you cowards.
Yeah.
Sorry, I called your listeners cowards. I didn't mean it.
No, it's fine. You're right to
JK,
say
they're not. Love you.
They're all very good looking and smart and wonderful.
Sure. Yeah. I'm sure.
Anyways, I did it again.
It's fine. I just my brain went like 5 different places, and I'm just like, which thread do I follow? And then I just got lost in the woods. So it's fine. Anyway, I am your host, Stephen Foxworthy. You can find me on Instagram, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky at Chewy Walrus. You can find the absent Brett Wright on Instagram, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky at sus_warlock. And Tucker, where are you lurking these days?
As always, you can find me on YouTube at I99. Also on Instagram at the same handle. That's ICENINE, the number 0 and the number 9. I'm feeling creative, so there might be some new music soon. I don't want to say there'll be an entire EP, but I've got something. There's something's happening.
I like that for you.
Nice.
So if you're a subscriber to my YouTube, look out for that.
Right on.
Also, Tuck Mugs.
Tuck mugs.
Tuck Mugs, Tuck_mugs on Instagram. It is the place on Instagram to just kind of chill out in a mug-based community
Mm-hmm.
where all we do is like straight up look at mugs, talk about where those mugs came from, and I don't know what's inside those mugs.
Talk about what's in the mug. Ari, when are you
It's
going to submit a mug?
Yeah, I need a guest mug.
Soon? Tomorrow? I don't know.
Word.
How do I submit a guest mug, you guys?
Well,
So glad you asked.
I also am glad that you asked. You can email us a photograph of your mug plus the origin of it and or what it means to you plus what is currently in it when you took the photo. You can send that to us at disenfranchedpod@gmail.com, or you can message us directly on Instagram at tuck_mugs. Just follow us. Well, you don't have to follow us to send us a message, I don't think.
Get in
But
them
just send us the
DMs.
message. We'll get it. Like I say, send the picture, send the rest of the kind of post. You can, if you go to tuck_mugs, you can see like what the format is, kind of get a feel for it. It's not too
I'm putting a
complicated.
reminder in my calendar for tomorrow morning to take a picture of my coffee and send it to you.
Awesome.
I'm way into that. We will Tuck Mugs will be honored to have you.
And put a copy of Millennial Nasties right next to it, so you can do some shameless self promotion while you do it.
I don't
Into
have
it.
any copies yet. They're not printed yet. So you just
put your
have to
e-reader
imagine.
up, right? Or like
Yeah,
just like
I could,
your
I
phone
could
with
put my
the cover.
little. Yeah.
Right?
I think
Tablet.
I've got some pictures of the cover in the press kit, so I can
You
throw one of
do.
those on there.
They are there.
Feel free to promote my book for me.
That's the whole reason that's the whole reason we're talking is we're promoting the hell out of this
My
thing.
goodness.
So yeah. Absolutely. I mean, this is part of the press tour, right? Like,
Yes, it is.
We're the
I
press.
just can't deal with mentally. I'm like, what? I'm on a press tour? That's crazy. But
I've look. It's the first time anyone's ever asked us to be part of a press tour, which is insane to me. But also
the first time they follow through, at least.
oh snap!
Oh no!
I mean, but like officially, like
I'll
getting
totally
like,
edit that out.
but like officially getting like materials from someone to like review and discuss, and I'm just like I feel very official right now in a
It
way
is official.
that in a way that someone like me has never needed to feel before. So yeah, it's pretty wild. I'm kind of here for it. But yeah, that is the show.
Yeah,
everybody.
I think we did it.
So check out, go ahead and get your pre-order on for Millennial Nasties. So you get that copy in your hands on September 17th when it releases. In the meantime, make sure you find Ari all the places that she is on the internet and know all the stuff she's got going on. Her Letterboxd is full of, if you're into the Millennial Nasties, she's got a ton of great recs in her recently watched at any given time.
Oh wait, I don't want to kill your momentum, Steven, but should I Ari, should I follow you on Letterboxd? Because I can't stand Letterboxd. Do you know why I hate
No.
Do you know why I hate Letterboxd?
Why?
Roll your eyes, Steven. Roll your eyes, Steven. Okay. Because it's all just like jokey meme reviews. Like nobody gives a fuck like about actually reviewing a movie on Letterboxd. So if you're doing like an actual thing, please let me subscribe to you because that's what I want out of Letterboxd.
We should definitely follow each other. I would say about half the time I do jokey bullshit, and the other half the time I link to an actual review that I wrote.
Okay. See, and look, I feel like there is a place for that. And honestly, like some of them there's some like really good parody reviews. They go on forever and just are so clever. But
yes, Yeah, some of
It's
them are really
there's
good. And
That's just
sometimes
like
I just
90% of what fucking Letterboxd is, though. And I just
yeah.
like I go in there looking for a movie and I want some kind of perspective on it, or I want to validate my own perspective, and all I get is the memes and the lulz.
I hear ya. Nah, you
Yeah.
should definitely follow me. Just, cuz I think you should.
It's
Definitely.
okay.
And you know what? So should everybody else. Go follow Ari right
Absolutely.
now.
Ari
What was
underscore
the
Hellraiser.
Okay, there we
Yes,
go.
everywhere. So yeah, that is our episode on the 2009 film Sorority Row. God, what a fun time it's been. I always love talking to you. It's always a pleasure.
Always a blast.
Always so much fun. This has been Disenfranchised. I have been your host, Stephen Foxworthy. For my absent co-host, Brett Wright, the very present co-host, Tucker, and the very, very special guest, Ariel Powers-Schaub. Until next time, oh shit, what's a line from this movie I can use to close out this podcast?
Cheers, slut.
Cheers, sluts. Yeah, there you go.